Hey, so in the last lesson that we did, it was kind of an introduction to this chapter. We talked about how people got out west in different ways. Mainly, they just went by land, which was not a very wonderful trip. We also talked about how different people were affected differently. Some were helped, some were harmed by this westward expansion. And there were different reasons why people were going west. Some were for money, some were for just opportunities for their family, things like that. Today, we're going to talk about a group called the Californios. And by the name, you can probably figure out where they were located. They were located in California. Okay, this group of people were Spanish-speaking people living in California. We're going to talk about the rancho way of life. And a rancho is an area of land used for raising cattle. Mexico gave this to the Spanish and Mexican citizens who were living in North America. At the bottom of the page, you can see a man, and they call him a vaquero. Okay, the word vaca in Spanish is cow, and so a vaquero is a cowboy, essentially. And you can see that he's holding a rope. They call it a larieta, and in English, we know that word as lariat. All right, so as we read, you're going to see some new words that you're not probably familiar with, that are words that now in English you are familiar with. And two things that you're going to be looking for today is what is the culture of the Californios like? What is their life like? What are the things that they do? And then secondly, you're going to be looking for how the Mexican War affected the Californios. Those are the two questions you're going to be asked today. And instead of a Google form, you're just going to do it on this slideshow and fill in the boxes. So without further ado, let's get to reading. All right. So the Californios, it says, they were a group of people living in the West before settlers migrated there. One of these groups was the Spanish-speaking Californios, who were located in California. In the 1830s, the Mexican government granted huge plots of land called ranchos to many wealthy Californios living in California. Most ranchos were devoted to raising cattle. California ranchers sold cattle hides and tallow or fat. Skilled vaqueros or cowboys looked after the cattle. These vaqueros used special clothing and tools while they were working. Soon, English-speaking newcomers learned to use these as well. One tool was a rope called larieta, which settlers referred to as a lariat. To protect their legs from thorny bushes, vaqueros wore leather coverings called chaparreros, and you know those as chaps, all right? Vaqueros also wore wide-brimmed hats called sombreros to protect their heads from the sun. Californios grew their own food, raising fruits and other plants that had first come from Spain. These included olives, oranges, figs, and grapes. Californios also grew North American crops such as corn, squash, and beans. Those were known as the Three Sisters by the Native Americans, by the way. Corn, squash, and beans. Californios loved to make a rich beef stew called carne asada. They also enjoyed a flat cornbread called tortillas. Californios adapted well to the hot, dry climate of the West. They built houses out of thick clay bricks called adobe, which stays cooler in the hotter weather than other materials. To irrigate or water their land, some Californios dug ditches and shared the water collected in them. Californios told stories about current events in songs called corridos. They made music with European instruments called guitars, violins, and trumpets. All right, so the next thing you're going to do is go to the next page because we're not quite done here. It says the Californios of the West were citizens of Mexico until 1848. At the end of the Mexican War, they became U.S. citizens. The newcomers often saw Californios as foreigners rather than as fellow Americans. Many white settlers had little respect for them and ignored Californios' rights as landowners. The U.S. government did not protect Californios' property. Many new settlers claimed rancho land for themselves. They burned Californios' crops and shot their cattle. The new culture of the West and the Southwest included many things learned from Californios, but the rancho way of life soon disappeared. So you can see that, again, the effect on people living in a place when the settlers came was not good. Okay. The first part of this slideshow that you're going to fill in is examples of the Californio culture, which I told you to be looking for. I gave you one. Californios built homes made of adobe. There are several others. Just tell me things about their culture. All right, just remember you click on the box in order to type. In the next page, you're going to tell me the effects of the Mexican War on the Californios. I did an example for you. White settlers took the Californios land. So you need to come up with two different other ways that the Californios were affected by the Mexican War. And that's in that last part of the reading on that second page I read you, if you're looking and you're still listening to my video. All right. So Tomorrow, we're going to talk about a group of people that went west for money. But today, focus on the Californios. Remember, you can look back in the reading for your answers. That is a really wise thing to do if you're not sure what the answer is. All right, we'll talk to you later.